Quiet, please. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're waiting for more folks to log on, but we're really happy that you're here with us this evening. And we'll just give it another minute or two to allow more people to join us. You're almost ready to go. We have several participants already on. Again, thank you for joining us. Okay, we are going to get started. Hi, everyone. I'm Colleen, and I'm the founder of the Haitian Women's Collective. First, let me say Happy Women's Month. We did miss International Women's Day was on March 8th. We had some activities around there. So the Haitian Women's Collective is a group of Haitian women-led organizations throughout the country that provide services kind of across the board, from education to health to community development, girls work, healthcare, and so forth. And so we're really excited to have Monique Clesca with us. She is our featured speaker for Women's Month, and really appreciate her being here. Good evening again, Monique.
Good evening. Thank you, Colleen, and hello to everyone.
Thank you. So for those of you who would happen to not know Monique Clesca, it's my pleasure to introduce her. I'm going to read a little bit from her bio to share with you. Monique Clesca is currently an international consultant after a career of more than 25 years, specializing in high-level policy dialogue, human rights, youth, and women programming, as well as crisis communication and writing. She's a feminist, pro-democracy, pro-social justice activist, and she's also a member of the Civil Society Commission to find a Haitian solution to the crisis, and of Haiti Think Tank. Monique has been a speaker at Yale Law School of Human Rights, the Canada Parliament, and a guest, as many of you have probably seen her over the past few years, on Democracy Now!, CNN, MSNBC, NBC News, NPR, and Black News. So Monique, welcome again, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you have a very busy schedule. She just told me she's in Ethiopia, and I thought, wow. I don't know what time is it in Ethiopia? Uh-oh, I'm feeling really bad.
Well, let me say hello.
Yes,
and
please.
It's very early in the morning, and but it is a pleasure for me to be with you and with your guests. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we are going to share, we'll have some resources throughout the conversation that we will put in the chat for you. There's also a question and answer area where if you have a question, we'll be able to see it and hopefully attend to it as possible. We hope that the questions we put together, some folks have even shared some thoughts and really interested in this conversation today. So I really want to thank them. But we'll put some things in the chat that we hope our guests today will appreciate having. The first is a recent article that highlighted a great interview, I think, with Monique. It's from the Humanitarian magazine or journal. as well as the fact that the US Department of State this week, I believe, released a human rights report on Haiti. Very long. I haven't seen it yet. And I said it's going to take me some time to sit and kind of go through that. So Monique, for those of us who know you and those who don't, I read a little bit about your bio, but I'd love to hear more about, you know, what drives you? Why do you do this work? And how did your career path bring you here today even?
Okay, thank you. That's a pretty loaded question in terms of my career path and today. So maybe what I'll do is talk a little bit about my career path. I started in advertising and decided at that time that I just felt it was not bringing me the satisfaction that I needed. So I went to get a master's in journalism at the Northwestern University. I must say that one of the things that really kind of fashioned me that I am was the bachelor's degree that I got at Howard University. And during that time, because I am 70 years old, so during that time, that was the Vietnam War, it was the sexual revolution, and there was a lot of Black power civil rights movement that really kind of put all of that in the background and laid the foundation for me. So after my master's at a Northwestern, I went back to Haiti. And because somehow I felt that I didn't leave under my own free will. I left, like many of us. I was 12 years old, and your mother, your father, that's it. You get on the plane. And so I went back to Haiti and started to work in Haiti with UNICEF. And I think that is a foundation that was very important because I worked for 15 years on the issue of child and women's rights and went throughout the country to really build what we call the kind of network, a media network for children, where media really I supplied them with information about the situation of girls and women so that they could report on it. So that it was not a question of UNICEF is telling me this is the situation, but it was a kind of a responsibility of media. And I think that's something that is important to empower others so that they can do their own work. And then, Haiti, and I think we'll get into that, Haiti kind of goes into cyclical kind of crisis. Yeah. And it just kept on. We went through a lot during that period, those 15 years, and then 1986 came along, and then the hope of something new, democracy, etc. And then I started my own communication firm, where I worked with civil society, worked also with UNICEF and other UN agencies. And then another crisis came, and you lose your job. And I had no contracts. And then said to myself, well, listen, look for international development, because I was into development, but at the local level, even though UNICEF is an international development agency, but I was based in Haiti and I was national staff. So then I started working with UNFPA and started trekking through Africa, and practically have done close to about 40 or more countries in Africa to support with mission, sometimes 1 week mission, sometimes 2 weeks mission, rarely more than 2 weeks mission, and going to West Africa, East Africa, Northern Africa, sometimes Central Africa, but Southern Africa and the Indian Ocean. And I did that for years until I retired then as a head of office, a leadership position in Niger for 4 years, where it was a kind of experience that really kind of fashions you also, because I really got involved very seriously with working with traditional chiefs and working on issues of maternal mortality, on issues of children's rights, but really women's rights, with the child marriage. And then I retired and went back to Haiti. And I think your question was, how did we get here? And what drives me? And I think a lot of these experiences with women, women's stories, children's stories, youth stories, and stories of wanting to do better, wanting to be better, and sometimes not being able to do it. And the reasons why. There are the systematic reasons why, and then there are the personal reasons why. And a lot of them have to do with the poverty, and the poverty that disempowers women, a poverty that disempowers children, the lack of education, whether it is the formal type, whether it is the informal type of education that empowers women to take the next step. And so, I've kind of gone through the kind of path that I have followed, and which has incredibly empowered me. And so that I can be of service to others. And I think that's something that is important. When you are given, you have to give back.
Absolutely.
And I think I am in the stage now of actually giving back.
I appreciate that. And I think it's so important, because oftentimes we see people and I would say, you don't know how they got here. And it's good to share. And I'm sure there are commonalities maybe for folks who are watching as well. Poverty, just the thought of it. I was scribbling down poverty disempowers women and children. It absolutely does, and limits them, right? Limits access to working, limits access to choices, limits access to healthcare, limits access to the development of communities, and for them to be able to thrive. So poverty is in fact such a major issue, right? And our need to really talk about eliminating poverty versus decreasing poverty, I think, is also very important. So many folks, I'm sure, who are on here today, all of us, many of us are interested because of the crisis in Haiti. Haiti, I say Haiti is on fire, if you will, right? There is a crisis in the country. And yet, I believe, as I was saying before, one of my mentors says, transformation is possible. And for many of us who have been advocating, who have been, pushing different policies, who have been sharing and thinking and advocating and all of that, I guess the question for you is transformation possible, and how do we get there? How do we best get there?
Transformation is possible. Transformation, I think, is always possible. But maybe 2 points. We are in crisis, and I think it's important to define very quickly that crisis so we can see some transformation. A lot of people think the crisis is a political crisis in Haiti right now. It is way beyond a political crisis. I always say it almost is an existential crisis. This crisis started because youths took to the street in July 2018 and said, we need social services. So it started out as a social justice crisis. And Haiti is a very unequal society. And they were asking for health. They were saying, we need professional schools. We need to learn trade so that we can be working. So education was extremely important, and education is a huge demand of Haitians. And so we have to look at the situation as the need for systematic change. We need equality, and not equality like, oh yeah, we need to be equal, women and men. Yes, that also, and fundamentally, and we will get to that. But what we really need is for Haitians to be taken care of by the state. We need a state that provides services, health, education, security in particular. Of course, others like jobs and whatever. So I think we have to look at that as something extremely central, where we need leaders, men and women, particularly women, who will look at the state and say, we need to provide services for our brothers and sisters, for our citizens. And then each of us needs to say, what is it that I can do to make things better for my brother, for my sister? And the transformation then has to come at the personal level, and the transformation must come at the community, the organizational, and the nation building level. And I think that's why, to me, it is extremely important that each one of us be involved, and transformation will be possible, and transformation is possible. A lot of people don't have hope. And I can understand that. The situation is dire.
It is.
Dire, dire, dire. There are really no words. The heartbreak, people are dying all the time. Women in particular are really, what's happening to women is absolutely heartbreaking. The rape, beyond rape, there is collective rape. And there is collective rape in front of women's children, in front of their mates. And it is heart-wrenching. And I think we really must salute the spirit of the women who resist. A lot of them say, we're not there, but we're not there because we've been killed, even though we are alive. So I think we need to share our sympathies with them. And a lot of them have lost their husbands, their mates, their children. And so it is very difficult. And the transformation also for them will be at the personal level also. And the communities need to embrace them and take them in their arms and really kind of provide that kind of individual as well as group support. So this is the situation we're living, where we are wounded bodies, wounded souls, wounded communities, and a wounded country. And so the transformation not only is possible, the transformation is needed. So now how? Let's get into the how.
That is the question of the hour, the how, and that so many, and certainly, for myself, the diaspora, which we're going to talk about a little bit about the role, the potential role or possibilities, opportunities for the diaspora, right? But I sit where I am at. I am not in Haiti. I'm not living in Haiti. I'm not dealing with the day-to-day, right? I hear about it, I read about it, I talk to people living in Haiti, and just how painful it really is.
Yeah.
And as I don't know if I had shared on International Women's Day with other really great leaders, we gave testimony or shared with the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, and to hear the numbers, because when you see numbers and data, sometimes you don't put a face to it, but I think both NDDH, Wozi, Auguste, who was there, as well as Pascal Solange from Neges Marwan, and forget his name, but he has the law school, again, Jeremy, just talking about like the day-to-day struggle for women, and women in Port-au-Prince even more so, literally afraid to come out of their homes, literally afraid to be in their homes, and this physical and emotional just aggression towards women that I believe, have never seen before to this extent in Haiti. And so the crisis is, as you're saying, it's personal, but I appreciate that you brought us back to 2018, right? We didn't get here just because we're in this crisis because of the lack of systematic change, or even a system that supports the people of Haiti, and the need for the state to be able to do that. So I appreciate you're bringing us back there. So what is the how? And so many people have so many ideas, right? There's this listserv I'm on. I don't even know how I got on this listserv, but every week there's at least 3 or 5 conversations about how to make change, and people have ideas. And it comes from the heart, right? People really care, and they want a better Haiti. So share with us just your thoughts about how do we make change? How is transformation possible? How do we get there?
Okay, I think transformation is possible, and what drives transformation is people. And we need the renewed commitment from people to make Haiti a better place, a livable place, a productive place for its population. And what this actually means is that the state of Haiti, when I say the state, I mean government, must be a government that provides the needed services. We need to rethink the healthcare system. Right now, you have about 50% of Haitians who have access to healthcare. This is unacceptable. We need to build the healthcare system. And I think that is something that one needs to think of. The population of Haiti is made up of 52% women. We have about 11.5 million Haitians, so we're close to 12 million in a small space. But out of that 11 million, 0.5, there are about 70% of Haitians that are under 24 years old. So we have a young country. What do you do when you have a young country? You must invest in healthcare so that they are healthy. And you must invest in education so that you give them the tools. You give them the tools to fashion themselves so that they can be citizens and they can be proper members of the society, so they can get jobs, so they don't have to struggle for things like this. So the state must invest in education and in healthcare. So people will ask, but where does the state get money to do this? Well, one of the things is that if you collect the taxes from importation, the taxes from citizens, if you collect what you must, and if you do not steal what you collect, that means no corruption, There is corruption everywhere, every country. The
Absolutely.
United
Every
States,
country, every country.
France, Canada,
Yes, of
everywhere
course.
there is corruption. But the corruption in Haiti is systematic. It is endemic. It's like a disease. So the money that one collects must be invested in education. It must be invested in healthcare so that the young population that we have can get the tools, the skills that it needs to be able to give back to Haiti. So the transformation starts with investment in social services, investment, of course, in infrastructure, but investment in people, investment in youth. So some of what I've talked about is also the political class, a political class that will know that we need to provide services, that when you get into politics, you don't get into politics for power. For power's sake, you get into politics so that you can be in a position to help transform the society for others. And those others, most of them right now are youths, and most of them also, the 52%, are women. So this is what we need. We need committed people who will invest themselves and say, we need change. I'm committed to change. I'm committed to transformative change. And let me invest so that the schools are better. Let me invest so that the healthcare is better, so that women will not have to be having babies on the floor of wherever, so that women will not have to fight so that they can get to the proper health care that they need. So this is at, at a personal level, at a community level, and at a group nation level, so that we can say, let us press the reset button, press the reboot button, so that we can get this right. And we have not gotten it right so far.
Well, I think the key thing that we talk about or need to talk about is this state, right? And this past weekend, I was meeting with some of our HWC team members who have expertise or, getting their degrees, master's degrees in international development. And I said, well, is Haiti a failed state? And one of them, our policy fellow, said, the definition of a failed state is kind of what Haiti is right now, when you don't have parliament, right? You don't have an elected president anymore. You have a de facto prime minister. And so I know we've, and many of us were advocating around the Montana Accord and the commission, and trying to see what, as part of the transformation, as you're saying, right? We can't transform without the right leaders, as you've mentioned. We can't transform without the government of Haiti seeing itself as responsible for its own people. I say this all the time. The government of Haiti is responsible for the people of Haiti, right? And so here we are now at the state that we're in, as I mentioned, no parliament and so forth. What is the US? What is France? What is Canada? We're hearing about, people want troops on the ground. People don't want troops on the ground. What's your take? What is your take on that at that level, the real, stuff level?
Yeah. The Montana Accord that you mentioned comes from civil society actually saying, you know what? Government is failing in trying to resolve the crisis. And let's get involved. And they put together a commission from different sectors. And so I'm one of the commissioners. And one of the things that happened is that we said we must find a Haitian solution. We cannot all the time call others to find solutions for us. It is a Haitian problem. Let's sit together. So we actually sat down together and listened to every political party and went around to different groups to listen to what do you think are the short-term solutions, immediate solutions, and long-term solutions. And that's what the Montana Accord is. It is the result of the consensus from what I used to call the least common denominator. What are the things that all of us kind of agree on? And the social justice agenda is one, which included also justice, because a lot of people said, yes, social justice, but there have been too many crimes committed, and there needs to be justice, a kind of truth, reconciliation, and those types of things. So the Montana Accord is that, a kind of roadmap that you have in terms of how you can, in a short 2-year span, lay the groundwork for elections so that things can be better. But one thing that you said, Karine, that is extremely important is that, yes, in terms of failed state, you need parliament, you need that represents the people. And when I say represents the people, remember I talked about 52% of the population is women. So we will get to that also in terms of representing the people. We need a president, unfortunately, and more than unfortunately, tragically, the president was assassinated. And it's not a question of whether you were for him or against him. It is a question that it is a trauma. It is traumatic to have your president assassinated in the conditions that he was assassinated in, and that we cannot get justice for him, just like we cannot get justice for the policemen, for the women raped. And so justice is a real issue. So when you and others talked about failed state, yes, the fact that we don't have the government, the parliament, and the justice system, the judiciary that we deserve. But it is also because when it's there, what they're thinking of is themselves rather than thinking of the collective. So it is also in intent, and it is also in what it is that they do. So the transformation needs to be in terms of the leadership that we need, a leadership that will say, you know what, we don't want people who are stealing from us. You know what, we want people who say, we believe that the population deserves social services. We deserve to build the country together. We believe in that flag that you have behind you. That flag is a potent, important symbol of what Haiti is. And when we carry those colors, blue and red, this is not just, we have a dress that's made of that, or we have a t-shirt like that. It is symbolic of the struggle that others went through, fought for, to give us freedom, so that we can say we are ready and able to bring our contribution, so that others who are disempowered by poverty, disempowered by lack of services, can make themselves better, can transform themselves better, can have the security, can have the health, can have the education, can self-expression, can sing, can dance, can do all of that because our culture is rich. So that is what I'm involved in because, you know, when you're retired, you always say to yourselves, what will you do? And
I don't
so
think you're
that's,
retired anymore, Monique. I think you, yeah, I don't think you're retired anymore, but okay.
I
Yeah.
think I am now more busy
More
than I
busy
was
now.
when I was actually working. And it's work. And it's work because, for example, we, you know, who are particularly in the monitoring office of the Montana Accord, it is, we have not, we don't get paid for this. This
No
is,
one's funding, no
we
one's
have
funding
been,
the work.
well, you know, a lot of the
Right.
work we don't get paid. So there are certain organizations, particularly in the United States, justice organizations, human rights organizations, who perhaps pay for a hotel room when you're meeting, or who are paying for a, you know, let us when you have a huge kind of powwow and it's an 8-hour thing, then, you know, let's bring the coffee, let's
Supportive,
bring the
sure.
lunch, etc., and let's rent the room. But us, you know, there is no money in it. It really is grit. It really
Work.
is
Sure.
conviction
Sure.
that drives us.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about corruption, as you said, you know, there is corruption everywhere. And we tend to see the more visible, concrete corruption versus the more, um, you know, tied in a bow, nicely packaged type of corruption, right? Particularly when we talk about smaller nations, if you will, or under-resourced nations as well. And I think going back to this idea of women's empowerment or women's participation, we don't know when elections, or I don't know when elections will be. Maybe there is a date out there or whatever is happening with that. But there certainly is a strong women's movement, many women-led organizations in Haiti. What role do you think they can play in ensuring that more women are not only participating, but able to be elected in the next series of elections?
Yeah. I'm going to get to that, but I wanted just to say a little something right before when you talked about corruption. What
Please.
the big issue is that corruption has become the playbook.
The
It is the
norm.
system of governance. It is a criminal government system. And I think that is what makes it very different. Because in other places, yeah, there are corruption scandals, there is that, there is a problem. But we are run, the political class itself is corrupt. So we have a criminal government system that is in cahoots with the gangs, that is supplying them with arms, that is doing arm trafficking, that is corrupt, etc. And I think that is the what we need to deshuke.
Yes.
We need to uproot it. So bringing in a new political class, and that's something that you talked about. And I think, yes, it is an important role for women-led organizations, but it is an important role for all human rights organizations also. And I think it's important to say that because the equality, the equity agenda is not only a woman's agenda, it is a human rights agenda. It is a democratic agenda. It behooves us to make sure that we have women in positions of power to change things. Why? Simply because we are 52% of the population. And if we are instilling democracy, it means one person, one vote, one voice. And how can you pretend to build democracy if you leave out 50% of the population, 52% of the population.
Yes.
And let me go beyond that. Not only how can you do it, but that 52% itself must be at the forefront. And I think that is one of the things that is important in what we've been living since the crisis started. You have seen leaders like young leaders like Pascal Solage, young leaders that you have seen, like Velina Elise Charlier, who are in their 30s, who have been at the forefront of the anti-corruption and of the pro-democracy movement. Yes. And throughout Haiti, I did practically a national tour of Haiti that I started about 2 years ago to meet with women's organizations. And one of the things that I saw is that women's organizations are there almost replacing the state with pushing for healthcare, pushing for services for women who are victims of gender-based violence, pushing for education, holding their communities accountable and participating. So there are women leaders. Every community has women leaders. These are the hardworking women who we are saying they are already in power in their communities. They need to hold the political power to make the changes within the political structures at the level of Kazakh, at the level of parliament, at the level of whether it's a White House, at the level of the justice system. For example, one of the big struggles is that, for example, whether it's Tigwav, Léogane, Tour du Nord, etc., where the women are demanding justice because they have been raped. Very often, if the guy is put in jail, you have judges who are releasing them, or judges who are saying, you know what, we need to, why don't you make an arrangement with the guy who raped you? And so when we're talking about transformative change, we are talking about also women judges.
Absolutely.
So that they can understand. So we are talking about the women in the judiciary, women in the parliament, women in the executive branches, in ministries, women also at the level of community, Kazakh and Azek, who are making decisions. So we're talking about training women so that they can know that, you know what, you can do it. We're talking about putting in systems so that the women can have a financing so that they can go into their campaigns. We're talking about the kind of thing where women will know, you know, even if there is violence, you must come and say, I have been violated, and my rights say, I must do this. So we are talking about also empowering women with tools, with the money necessary for campaigns and all of that. So the role of the women's movement, women-led organizations, is really to provide that kind of empowering support, that kind of a skill set, that kind of building the kind of funding where you can provide that so that women can be at the forefront of the transformed Haiti that we're talking about, because transformation happens when you have the kind of leadership that reflects society, and this is what we need.
I appreciate your, because that was part of my question around, because we've had the conversation about women organizations around the country that you've interacted with and what some of their needs are. So I appreciate your sharing that again during our Women's Month approach to everything. So, one of the challenges I think that we see in the Haitian Women's Collective is this idea of how, I don't know if it's broadly how international development works, but in many ways, the failure of how international development works. And that oftentimes the smaller, grassroots, hardworking organizations who can identify the problems, have ideas for the solutions, are not often necessarily allowed to not only sit at the table, but participate at the table. And so for those who have worked in Haiti, funded programs, done programs, what's the message? How do we change? What is this idea of shifting how we do development in Haiti, how we do these ongoing projects? And absolutely, right? We know the difference between an emergency response or humanitarian response versus projects that often last for 2 or 3 years. And there seems to not be, I wouldn't say any, but not enough of a sustainable impact that's left behind. What do we need to be paying attention to and thinking about what we need to do different and hold ourselves accountable in that space?
That's a very powerful question because that's the root of the problem. Development starts, it cannot be in a boardroom somewhere, in New York or in North Carolina or someplace else. Yeah, that is important. But what is important is people know what their needs are. When you talk to
Absolutely.
women in Haiti, women's organizations, they know what they need. They
Sure.
have their agenda. I sat down and went all the way from Jeremy and met with organizations, a groupment of organizations from Us They Know, from Korai, from Abrico, and then the ones from Port-à-Piment, the ones from the north, the ones from Wanamet, Léogane, Jacmel. They know what they want. They have their agenda. They
Yes.
know in terms of, a lot of them tell you, Pagelita, Pagelita.
Yeah.
And they know that. And they
Sure.
know to invest in, they're asking, they're even saying, we need the healthcare, we need health centers, we need gender-based violence services, we need schools for our children, we need to get educated, we need funding for tools so we can do agriculture.
Yes.
So the women know what their needs are. Communities know that. So in terms of international development, it is actually finding the ones that are on the ground, the ones that are working with the ones that are on the ground. And then based on what their needs are, to then give answers. It is not in a boardroom somewhere that you're going to say, this is it. We need to invest in that kind of development to prevent humanitarian situations and also to give responses when there are humanitarian situations. We are clearly conscious of the data. For example, you say about 4 million people or more are in need of, are hungry. When we say are hungry, they don't have enough money to eat. But we need also, the situation is not to bring in necessarily the food, but what about the farmers who are working? They need tools, they need engrais, fertilizers, natural ones, and they are organized in collectives, etc. They need the kind of support. And I think some of the great failures of international development is thinking that you know what it is, but what it is actually on the ground and supporting the empowerment, of those who are on the ground, women and men who are making changes, who are there, who want to transform their societies. And so this is what is needed to kind of change the balance.
Absolutely.
And, and that's what it is. And that's what makes me angry when others come and say, okay, we have the solution. No, we know in country, what are some of the solutions? We need the support to put them into practice. And the support sometimes is financial, it is technical, it is logistical, it is technological. We need that kind of support.
Thank you. I appreciate your saying that as we are entering also into strategic planning and thinking about all of what you have shared here. But for us, it really has been about the communities that the various organizations are in. They know the communities, the people know what the concerns are, and it really is, accompanying them, right? And helping to see what the solution is together with them. They teach us, we may learn from them, they may need a little support from us. And so that's really been our approach. It's not to say that we don't hold organizations accountable, but for example, after the earthquake, we did cash assistance. Were we going to do 3-page reports? No, we didn't have that much money to give them, right? But we know that women who are women merchants, if they got $50 or $100, they were able to start doing things to get them back settled or to get their family settled a little bit, right? And so that's always important for us. And through the small grants program, which I've shared with you also, we're able to hear from Haitian women-led organizations who say, I can make an impact with $500. If you give me $500, I can do this, I can solve that, I can take care of this. And it's really concrete, right? And it doesn't have to be oh so grand, but something so small can make, I think, such a really big difference.
Yeah, a huge difference.
Yeah, as we move, and I know time is of the essence. We can't leave without we are going to share the Haiti's performance on the Women, Peace and Security Index, so folks will have access to that. We'll put that in the chat. But also, this question is, we have more elected officials of Haitian heritage in the U.S. than ever before. There's a coalition or a national association as well. What effective role do you think they can play in advocating for Haiti to as part of this transformation idea?
I think they can play a huge role. First of all, they're models of success. And we need youth, women need models of success. And for example, if a woman is running a campaign in Haiti, she needs to be able to say that, you know what, there is a Haitian woman who won. What did she do? How did she do it? And so apart from being a model, there is the skill set of ones who have succeeded. And when I say the skill set, you don't, by the time you are a commissioner or whatever, you've run a successful campaign, you have raised funds, you have been a leader of people. So apart from the experience of, yes, you are in a position of power, you are a model, but you bring an important skill set that you need to share with us on the ground so we know how to do this. So that is the second thing. And there is a third thing also, that the elected officials, can be voices of the ones who are left. And I don't want to say who are left behind, the ones who choose to stay also. So it's not only left behind, the ones who choose to stay for various reasons, And I think to be the voices to say that we can do this. We can do the farming. We can feed our people. What we need are the tools. What we need are the entry level things. So I think there are resources, skill sets, the modeling part, and I think to be the voices. So this is a very important constituency for us, because they speak to others who are in power.
Yes.
And they can say, you know what, we Haitians can make it. And Haitians overwhelmingly, when they go to the United States, they are into education, and it is very much like a Asians work hard and study and then do right. It is not about the criminal element. Most Haitians, the majority of Haitians are there, and they are doing good, productive things and leading good, upright, productive lives. And they can support the ones in Haiti, particularly those who are in power.
Yes.
And I think it is a responsibility to help our brothers and sisters who are in Haiti, and a lot of them are struggling.
Right. If anyone has a question, please put it in the chat, the Q&A aspect. You know, I often think also that, you know, the diaspora is diverse within itself, right? In many ways. And also that, you know, for those who say, you know, have not been to Haiti in 5 years, in 10 years, or in 25 years, or sometimes I hear people, oh, we need the diaspora to change Haiti. Without the diaspora, we cannot change Haiti. And I agree that the diaspora has an important role to play. Yes, elected officials, yes, and technical assistance and support. But I also think in the messaging, we need to be careful, because there's this sense that the people in Haiti don't know what they're doing, or that they're not professionals, or that they're not educated. And that has not been my experience in the short time that I even worked in Haiti. So you know, the question is, how do we best accompany those in Haiti as the diaspora from the outside? Because you're not living there, you're not working there, you may be sending money every month, but you are still the diaspora. So how do we best accompany, as you said, our brothers and sisters who are dealing with so much all the time? What's a good way to be able to be supportive of them?
Yeah, I think there is the personal accompaniment. And as you said, the sending money is a personal accompaniment. And when one sends money, very often it's not like I'm going to buy, you know, a dress so I can do this. No, it's so I can eat.
Yeah,
It's so I can send the kid to school. And I think those are things that are extremely important also. But I think it is by supporting Haitian organizations, by supporting, sometimes one can say, how can I find Haitian organizations? Well, there are regroupments, and perhaps regroupment is not an English word, but regroupings, collectives, organizations. And there are the larger ones who are in touch with the smaller ones. And I think those are the things that is important. And I always give the example of a Focal. And Focal is one organization that supports a lot of grassroots organizations, whether in the cultural sector, in the agricultural sector, in the education sector, in the media sector. So you have organizations like this. I know of an organization that is Roots of Development that works in Lagunave, and I'm always interested in their model. When you give money to Roots of organizations, they have organizations in Lagunave that they work with. And usually it will be then the organization that will decide whether they invest in supporting 1 or 2 or 10 or 15 families, or whether they invest in a community project. And but it is their decision. And they make that decision based on the needs of what it is that they have. There is an organization called ProDev. ProDev has schools that they have a school, but they also support other schools with different kind of funding. So you have organizations. Plus, there are the regroupments, and I think I had provided you with different addresses of organizations that
Good.
sometimes they need to help women who are having difficulties with a gender-based violence, and they don't even have money to take public transportation to go to the courthouse. So, there are needs like this, but bottom line is there are organizations that can help and that are on the ground.
Sorry, I just realized that I'm on mute here. So we don't have many more questions, or I don't see any in the chat, but um so what's next for you? First of all, you are no longer retired, so can you just kind of that aside? It's not happening. What's next for you? And we can close out with, what is your hope for Haiti?
Okay, personally, I have 2 children, 3 grandchildren. So what's next for me is also helping them through their assertions, their life projects, and I think that's important. But I have a book that's coming out. Now, I am going to be looking in the next few weeks, really, for an agent so that I can publish my book. And my book is so far called Silence and Resistance, a memoir of a girlhood in Haiti. Because my first years in Haiti was essentially during the Duvalier dictatorship. And there was a certain way that children were brought up that also produces trauma. And, the violence produces trauma. And that brings me, in terms of my personal project, and the bigger community nation building project. What is going on in Haiti right now is creating huge trauma. Not only for you, for example, I know you just lost someone that you know, and but and the effect that has on you, the effect that has on family, we are being traumatized, we are being terrorized, and we're going to need a major dose of reconciliation, therapy, etc. So in terms of the collective, I'm in the struggle, pro-democracy, pro-social justice, pro-supporting women so they can get into power. We're trying to develop a pack, and a pack that can help women candidates. We are trying to develop tools that can communication tools so that women candidates can go forward in different levels, their communities as well as the parliament, so we can build about laws, because Haiti doesn't have really a set of laws, gender-based violence laws. So we can follow, make sure that government is doing what it's supposed to do. So I am head-on involved with that, my personal projects, my children, grandchildren, my book, as
Great.
well as helping bring a new crop of Haitian women leaders
I love
and
that.
supporting the struggle so that we can have a clean government, a transformative government that can bring about human rights and services for its citizens.
Mm. So much of what you said this evening stays with me, and I'm glad we recorded it. But certainly the idea of, do better, just be better, and social justice, but also just justice, and that people should have access to that. And as we said, the government of Haiti is responsible for the people of Haiti. I think for many of us in the diaspora, because of how things have been for so long, you have people in the diaspora who are supporting families, right, who are paying for education because the public education system, which used to be phenomenal from what I know from
I'm from
parents and
it.
others, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What happened? So you have all of this kind of investment. And I think for me also, having had the chance to interact with so many of these women-led organizations throughout the country who do know what the issues are and do know what the solutions are. They may need assistance, but certainly many of our members and partners and so many that are doing work, I certainly want to highlight them and lift them up this evening and thank them for all of their work. So any last words to those who are here and listening, and to be encouraging, I guess, as we close out?
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to give some last words. I think the last words is just really keep at it.
Keep at it.
We, you know, it's we have to sustain the mobilization. We have to sustain the activists who are working in Haiti with different kinds of support. We have to sustain and help support in different ways the organizations that are working, and to believe that if we were able to do away with slavery, to do away with the colonialism that was so ingrained in Haiti, we can do away with the criminal organizations that are running the country. We can do this. Absolutely. We can absolutely do this, but we must do it together. It must be very clear what our objective is, and we must also contribute to the new class of political leaders, mostly women, youth, and we must support them. So, and we thank you also for the support, because it's been forthcoming. So I don't want to minimize that, but it's extremely important to keep it and to keep on the mobilization. And it's important. And, you know, as a commissioner and as a member of the monitoring office of the Montana Accord, I stay engaged. And, you know, as a woman leader, I stay engaged. And as a writer, I stay engaged, and it goes all the way to my grandchildren and my children. I stay engaged in the different levels of my life, because that's what a woman's life is. And so thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the support.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for spending time with us. And we learned a lot. Happy to share, and I appreciate, I know some of our members, partners who are in Haiti also joined this evening, because one of them sent me a message to say that she was on and listening, and we just want to really wish them all the best and continue to support. And this is the charge of the Haitian Women's Collective. There's work to be done, and many of those organizations are really doing, as I said, phenomenal work, and we as a collective will continue to be at the table, sharing, advocating, supporting as best we can, coordinating as best we can. We see ourselves as a community, and that is so, of course, very important. So this evening, I do want to close out with, as Monique mentioned, earlier this week, unfortunately, a young police officer in Haiti was brutally killed, and I didn't realize that I knew him until yesterday evening. And so I just want to send all the support and love to those who loved him and knew him so well, and his name, and they say you speak his name, right, is Jean-David Pierre Noel, and I knew him as Kiki. I didn't even know his real name. And so to him and all the other officers, and certainly those who are victims of violence and surviving in some way, we send them our best and wish them well. So thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Please visit our website, subscribe to our newsletter so we can continue to communicate with you and share wonderful speakers like Monique Clesca. It is my pleasure. Have a good evening, everyone. Good night.
Thank you. Good evening.
You're welcome. You're welcome so much. Bye-bye.